July 17th, 1940. Midnight. The North Atlantic, 300 miles west of Ireland. Salt spray lashes the bridge of HMS Gladiolus, a Flower-class corvette slicing through ink-black waves under a moonless sky. Lieutenant Commander Howard Johnston wipes the fog from his binoculars, his breath visible in the biting cold. The convoy, HX-55, 40 merchant ships laden with oil, grain, and munitions from Halifax to Liverpool, stretches out like a vulnerable herd, their running lights dimmed to evade prying eyes. But eyes are watching. Below the surface, Kapitänleutnant Otto Kretschmer grips the periscope of U-99, his "Silent Otto" reputation earned through ruthless precision. The diesel engines hum faintly as he maneuvers into position, the crew frozen in tense silence. You can almost feel the pressure building in that steel tube, the acrid smell of sweat and oil mixing with the thrill of the hunt. A torpedo tube floods. "Los!" Kretschmer whispers. The fish streaks away, a deadly shadow in the deep. The explosion rips through the night like thunder. The SS Scottish Minstrel, a 7,000-ton tanker, buckles amidships, flames erupting from her hull as oil spills into the sea, igniting a floating inferno. Screams echo across the water as sailors abandon ship, lifeboats splashing into the chaos. Searchlights from the escorts sweep wildly, depth charges rumbling into the depths, but U-99 is already ghosting away, reloading for the next strike. This isn't just an attack, it's the opening salvo in a war that will decide the fate of nations. The Battle of the Atlantic has entered its deadliest phase, and in 1940, the wolves are loose. As the year dawned, the Atlantic was already a graveyard. Britain, isolated after the fall of France in June, depended on these convoys for survival. Food, fuel, weapons streaming across 3,000 miles of hostile ocean. Winston Churchill, newly appointed Prime Minister, knew it. The Battle of the Atlantic was the dominating factor all through the war. But in 1940, the odds tilted sharply against the Allies. Admiral Karl Dönitz, the architect of Germany's U-boat fleet, had long advocated for wolf-pack tactics, coordinated submarine attacks to overwhelm escorts. With French ports like Lorient and Brest now under Nazi control, U-boats could strike deeper, faster, their range extended by captured bases. No longer confined to Norwegian fjords, they prowled the mid-Atlantic Black Pit, where air cover couldn't reach. Picture the men on both sides. On the convoys, merchant seamen, like young able seaman Jack Dempster from Liverpool, shivering in oilskins, scanning the horizon for periscopes. These weren't soldiers, they were civilians thrust into hell, their ships unarmed lambs against the predators. Dempster's diary entries capture the dread. Every wave looks like a conning tower. Sleep, impossible. Aboard the U-boats, crews endured their own torments, cramped quarters, the constant threat of depth charges that could crush hulls like tin cans. Korvettenkapitan Gunther Prien, hero of Scapa Flow, led U-47 into the fray, his boat a symbol of German invincibility. But even Prien felt the strain. One wrong move, and the Atlantic claimed U forever. The early months of 1940 were a prelude to carnage. January saw sporadic raids, U-boats picking off stragglers from convoys like OB-84. By March, as Norway fell, the Kriegsmarine surface raiders joined the fight, battleships like Scharnhorst lurking for easy kills. Yet it was the submarines that drew first blood consistently. In April, U-50 under Kapitänleutnant Max Hermann Bauer torpedoed the SS Fanedhead, her crew rescued only to face interrogation in Berlin. These isolated victories masked the growing storm. Hitler, fixated on the Blitzkrieg in Europe, had underfunded the U-boat arm. Only 57 operational at war start. Dönitz bleeded for 300. He got promises. But with France's capitulation, everything changed. June 1940, the happy time begins, as U-boat aces called it. Bases in occupied France cut transit times, allowing more patrols. Convoys, poorly escorted due to Royal Navy commitments elsewhere, became sitting ducks. Take convoy HX-47 in late June. U-30, commanded by Fritz Julius Limp, the man who sunk the Athenia in '39, sparking outrage, slipped through the screen and sank 3 ships in one night. Oil slicks marked the graves, survivors clinging to debris in freezing waters. The Admiralty scrambled. Destroyers like HMS Walker rushed to reinforce, but they were outnumbered. ASDIC sonar pinged futilely against cunning commanders who surfaced at night using deck guns to conserve torpedoes. You feel the isolation out there, don't you? No land in sight, just endless gray swells and the whine of wind. For the Allies, every lost ship meant rationed bread in London, delayed tanks for the Desert War. Churchill ordered more corvettes built, cheap, agile hunters like the Gladiolus, but production lagged. Meanwhile, Dönitz's packs grew bolder. July brought the first true Wolfpack assault on convoy SC-2, U-48, U-46, U-124, up to 5 boats this time. Over 3 nightmare nights, they tore the convoy apart. 30 ships attacked, 20 sunk. The sea is littered with rafts, Carly floats, men clinging to hatchboards as the temperature plummets. But on the 19th, something changes. The rescue sloop HMS Bluebell races to the scene, joined by the corvette Hardy's. In a blind, furious charge, Bluebell's ASDIC pings hard. Depth charges cascade. A minute passes, 2, then oil and wreckage boil to the surface. U-23 has escaped, but the pattern is broken. The escorts are learning to fight back. And in a quiet manor house at Bletchley Park, a young mathematician named Harry Hinsley pores over U-boat signals. The cipher is still unbreakable, but the chatter, the call signs, the grid references reveal shadows of the Wolfpack dance. The happy time is peaking, but every feast has its final course, and the hunters are about to meet something new in these waters. September 21st, 1940, 02:17 hours. Convoy HX-72, 41 ships crawling northeast at 9 knots, 400 miles west of Bloody Foreland. The sea is a rolling black mirror, reflecting nothing but the faint glow of burning ships. On the bridge of the British freighter Invershannon, Captain Reginald Henderson peers through the rain-streaked windshield. A red flare arcs skyward from the starboard column, then another. His stomach drops. "Periscope!" someone screams. Too late. U-99 is already inside the scream. Kretschmer stands barefoot on the conning tower, coat flapping in the gale, eyes gleaming like a wolf that smells blood. He has been trailing the convoy for 6 hours, sending contact reports that summon the pack. Now 4 U-boats converge. U-47, U-48, U-100, U-32. Dönitz's voice crackles over the radio from Lorient. Free yacht, free hunt. The first torpedo hits the 9,000-ton Elm Bank square in the engine room. A dull thud, then a volcanic roar as her boilers explode. Men are blown clear over the rail, limbs spinning like broken dolls. Within minutes, 3 more ships are burning. Invershannon, Blair Spray, Canonessa. Oil spreads in a burning carpet across the waves, turning the night into a flickering orange hell. Survivors swim through liquid fire, their screams swallowed by the wind. You can taste the diesel on the air, feel the heat on your face, even through the screen. Aboard the escort sloop HMS Lowestoft, Commander G.H. Roberts orders full speed, searchlights stabbing the darkness. Depth charges roll off the stern. Boom, boom, boom. Great geysers erupting. But the U-boats have vanished beneath the burning oil slick. They don't need to stay. They reload and circle like sharks. By dawn, HX-72 is a slaughter pen. 11 ships gone, 56,000 tons. Only 1 U-boat, U-31, is damaged when a merchantman rams her periscope in desperation. The rest slip away, crews drunk on victory. Kretschmer alone sinks 7 ships in this single patrol, earning the Knight's Cross with oak leaves. Back in Lorient, champagne corks pop as the band plays. They call it Die glückliche Zeit, the happy time, and it feels unstoppable. But across the ocean, in a smoke-filled room at the Admiralty in London,
A map tells a different story. Red pins cluster thick along the western approaches. In September alone, 59 ships lost, over 270,000 tons. Britain's import tonnage has fallen below the critical 35 million tons per year. Rationing bites harder. Bread is next. In Liverpool shelters, children ask why the lights are dimmer, why there's no sugar for tea. In Cabinet, Churchill slams the table. Everything turns on the Battle of the Atlantic. We are losing it. The Admiralty's tracking room is a hive of exhausted Wens pushing wooden markers across charts. Captain Roger Wynne, a brilliant hunchbacked barrister turned intelligence officer, stares at the pattern and sees the Wolfpack signatures, coordinated attacks triggered by a single shadower. Something has to break. Meanwhile, in the mid-Atlantic Gap, convoys sail blind. Land-based aircraft can't reach far enough. The few escort carriers are still months away. Escorts are stretched to breaking. Some corvettes have been at sea for 30 days straight, crews collapsing from fatigue. On HMS Gladiolus, again, a stoker writes home, "We drop ash cans till our ears bleed, but the buggers just laugh and come back the next night." And yet, something is stirring. In October, convoy SC-7 leaves Sydney, Nova Scotia. Slow, only 7 knots, 35 rusty freighters. By the 16th, the pack is waiting. U-48, U-46, U-124, 5 boats this time. Over 3 nightmare nights, they tear the convoy apart. 30 ships attacked, 20 sunk. The sea is littered with rafts, Carly floats, men clinging to hatchboards as the temperature plummets. But on the 19th, something changes. The rescue sloop HMS Bluebell races to the scene, joined by the corvette Heartsease. In a blind, furious charge, Bluebell's ASDIC pings hard. Depth charges cascade. A minute passes, 2, then oil and wreckage boil to the surface. U-123 has escaped, but the pattern is broken. The escorts are learning to fight back. And in a quiet manor house at Bletchley Park, a young mathematician named Harry Hinsley pores over intercepted U-boat signals. The cipher is still unbreakable, but the chatter, the call signs, the grid references reveals shadows of the Wolfpack dance. The happy time is peaking, but every feast has its final course, and the hunters are about to meet something new in these waters.
October 23rd, 1940, 03:41 hours. Convoy SC-7 is dying, scattered across 200 square miles of heaving black water. The wind has teeth now, force 8, gusting 9. Waves break over the bridge of the little corvette HMS Heartsease, freezing instantly into rime on the rigging. On the surface, the sea is a cemetery of burning oil and half-sunken hulls. Survivors from the Greek freighter Neritos cling to a single Carly float, their faces black with fuel. One by one, they slip away, too numb to hold on. The water is 6 degrees centigrade. 10 minutes is all a man has. Aboard U-48, Kapitan Leutnant Heinrich Bleichroth watches through his night periscope. He has already sunk 5 ships this patrol. His torpedoes are nearly spent, but the convoy is helpless. He lines up on the straggling Empire Miniver, mutters, "Los," and nothing happens. A dud. Then another. The eels streak past harmlessly. Bleichroth swears. German magnetic pistols, rushed into service, are failing in the cold northern latitudes. The detonators freeze or simply refuse to trigger. For the first time in months, the wolves miss. And something else is wrong tonight. A new escort has joined the slaughter late. HMS Scarborough, an old destroyer transferred from home fleet. Her captain, Lieutenant Commander W.S. Bardwell, is furious. He has seen the burning ships from 40 miles away and come at flank speed. Now Scarborough's Aztec pings hard and clear. Attack team close. The destroyer heels hard over, engines screaming. Depth charges thunder down the chutes. U-48 dives deep, 180 meters. The pressure hull groans. Charges detonate above, close enough to shatter light bulbs and fling men against bulkheads. A depth gauge cracks. Bleichroth's face is gray. For the first time, he orders silent running and creeps away, trailing oil from a cracked saddle tank. The hunter is wounded. Back in London, the red pins on Wynn's plot are still multiplying. 59 ships in October alone, but the rate is slowing. The happy time is stuttering. November arrives with gales that even the U-boats fear. The North Atlantic becomes a maelstrom of 50-foot waves. Convoys scatter, escorts lose contact, and yet fewer ships are dying. Why? The answer is small, stubborn, and growing. They are called flower-class corvettes, ugly little ships with high bows and terrible seakeeping. Crews nicknamed them piss pots because everything gets soaked. But they are being delivered in dozens now. Their captains, reservists, fishermen, weekend yachtsmen are learning fast. They practice group attacks. Hedgehog mortars are coming. And most importantly, they refuse to break. Take Lieutenant Commander Frederick John Walker, RN. In November 1940, he takes command of the 2nd Escort Group. Walker is 44, pipe-smoking, quietly religious, and already obsessed with killing U-boats. He drills his crews relentlessly. Speed is armor. Aggression is survival. His motto will one day become legend, but in late 1940, it is just beginning to bite. On November 5th, Walker's sloop HMS Fowley escorts convoy OB-237 outward bound. U-99, Kretschmer again, tries to penetrate at night. Walker smells him coming. Instead of waiting, he charges straight at the feather of the periscope, guns blazing. Kretschmer crash dives, but Walker is already over him. Depth charges roll, 8, 10, a perfect straddle. The sea erupts in towering columns. U-99 is crushed at 230 meters. Kretschmer and every man aboard die instantly. No wreckage, no survivors, just silence. One ace, gone in 90 seconds. Kretschmer in U-99 hears the charges and knows something has changed. He dives deep and runs south, trying to regroup with Preen. But Walker is not finished. He signals the group, Buttercup Maneuver, a creeping attack where one ship holds sonar contact while others drop patterns ahead of the fleeing boat. For 6 hours, Walker stalks U-99 through the depths. Kretschmer is the master of evasion, but tonight, the hunter has become the hunted. At 8:45, the corvette HMS Vano gains contact. Another pattern, then another. At 10:12, U-99 is blown to the surface, stern first, rudder smashed, diesels dead. Kretschmer scrambles onto the bridge, hands raised. Walker lowers a whaler. 40 prisoners, including the highest-scoring U-boat commander of the war, are hauled aboard, stunned, dripping, alive. 2 aces gone in one night. Preen in U-47 hears the radio silence and smells disaster.
he turns north to escape the killing ground. But the convoy's rearguard, HMS Wolverine, commanded by the ferocious James Rowland, picks up a fleeting Aztec contact at dawn on March 18th. Rowland attacks instantly, no hesitation. 10 charges, then a second run. Oil, air bubbles, then a massive secondary explosion that lifts Wolverine's stern clear of the water. U-47 has blown apart, probably a torpedo warhead detonating in the wrecked boat. Preen and his crew are simply erased. No survivors, no bodies, no trace. In 12 hours, the 3 greatest U-boat aces of the war are gone. 40% of all tonnage sunk by submarines to that date has just vanished with them. The news hits Lorient like a bomb. Dönitz stares at the plot, face ashen. He mutters, "Drei unsere Besten," 3 of our best. In London, Churchill receives the signal and scrawls across it in red ink, "Magnificent. This is the turning of the tide." It isn't the end. Far from it. Hundreds of new U-boats are sliding down the ways. America is still neutral. The mid-Atlantic gap remains a killing field. But something fundamental has broken. The aura of invincibility is shattered. The escorts have tasted blood, and they will never forget the flavor. Walker lights his pipe at last, looks out over the gray sea, and says quietly to his first lieutenant, "Gentlemen, the wolf pack has met the shepherd, and the shepherd has teeth."
April 1941. The Atlantic has become a slaughterhouse again. The great aces are dead, but their absence only makes the pack hungrier. Dönitz has more boats than ever, over 100 operational, with 30 new Type 7s and 9s commissioning every month. The new commanders are younger, more ruthless, less famous, but no less lethal. They call themselves the New Wolves, and they tear into the convoys with a fury born of revenge. Convoy SC-26, late March, 10 ships lost in one night. Convoy OB-318, early April, 14 gone, including the tanker San Conrado, carrying desperately needed aviation spirit for the RAF. May 7th, 1941. Convoy OB-318 again, another raid. U-110, commanded by the brilliant but reckless Fritz Julius Lemp, the man who sank Athenia in 1939, torpedoes 2 ships, then is caught on the surface by the corvette HMS Aubritia. Depth charges force her up. Lemp orders abandoned ship, believing scuttling charges are set. They aren't. HMS Bulldog, under Commander Joe Baker Cresswell, launches boats. Lieutenant David Bam, 20 years old, climbs down into the still-floating U-boat. The smell hits him first. Diesel, sweat, and something metallic. The crew have vanished. The boat is alive. Engines idling, lights on, coffee still warm in the galley. Bam walks the length of U-110 alone, revolver in one hand, torch in the other. In the radio room, he finds what will change the war. An Enigma machine, with its rotors still inserted, a stack of codebooks, the current Schließel-Settel settings for May, and the priceless Kurzsignale short signal codebook used by U-boats at sea. He stuffs everything into pillowcases and brings it back to Bulldog. Lemp, swimming nearby, realizes what has happened and tries to swim back. A British sailor shoots him in the water. U-110 sinks minutes later. The capture is kept ultra-secret, even from most of the Royal Navy. The material reaches Bletchley Park within days.
For the first time, the four-rotor naval Enigma is in British hands. The blackout that has shrouded U-boat signals since February 1941 begins to lift. But the convoys don't know this yet. May 1941 becomes the worst month of the entire battle. 58 ships sunk, 359,000 tons. 3 million tons lost since the war began. Britain has only 3 weeks of oil left in the entire country. Bread rationing is days away. In the House of Commons, a grim silence falls when the figures are read. On the bridge of HMS Walker, Frederick John Walker is gaunt. He has not had a full night's sleep in a month. His group has sunk 4 U-boats since March, but the cost is terrible. His men are dropping from exhaustion. One destroyer, HMS Broadway, has been at sea so long her bottom is foul with weed. She can barely make 20 knots. And the worst night is still to come. May 9th, 1941. Convoy HX-126, 40 ships, escorted by Walker's 2nd Escort Group and a handful of others. At dusk, the wolf pack strikes. 8 U-boats, maybe more. They come in on the surface under cover of darkness, firing from every direction. Torpedoes cross like deadly lace. Within 6 hours, 9 ships are gone. The Empire cloud burns from stem to stern. The Eastern Star explodes with such force that debris rains down on the escorts a mile away. Walker fights like a man possessed. He rams U-110's sister boat, U-55, when she surfaces too close. The U-boat escapes, damaged. He drives off 2 more, but the convoy is bleeding to death. At 03:14, the destroyer HMS Broadway picks up a solid contact. She and the corvette Hollyhock hunt together. A perfect creeping attack. U-110's sister in spirit, U-94, is caught and crushed. But the cost. Broadway's own depth charges detonate prematurely when she reverses too close. Her stern is wrecked, 22 men dead. By dawn, HX-126 limps on, 31 ships left out of 40. In London, Churchill stares at the map and says quietly to his naval aide, "If this goes on much longer, we shall not be able to continue the war." But the code breakers at Bletchley Park have just broken back into the U-boat traffic. For the first time since February, they can read Donuts's orders almost in real time. The blackest spring is ending. And somewhere out in the darkness, a new weapon is crossing the Atlantic under heavy guard. Something that will close the black pit forever. June 22nd, 1941, 0300 hours. Somewhere south of Greenland, the air is so cold it burns the lungs. A lone merchant ship, the SS Empire Wasp, limps along at the rear of convoy OB-336. She is a straggler, boilers failing, already torpedoed once and patched with cement boxes. She knows they are bait. She also knows no escort can stay with them forever. At 0312, the periscope feather slices the water 800 yards off the port beam. U-37, commanded by Oberleutnant Zuazi Valdemar Mell, lines up the coup de grace. Mell smiles. An easy kill to end the patrol. Then something impossible happens. A roar splits the night sky. A 4-engined aircraft, huge, ungainly, with a wingspan wider than a city street, comes in low over the waves, searchlight blazing like a second sun. It is Consolidated Liberator AM-929, D for Dog, 120 Squadron RAF Coastal Command, flown by an American volunteer who is technically not even in the war yet, Lieutenant Leonard B. Smith, U.S. Navy, on exchange duties. The light blinds the U-boat crew. Mel screams alarm, but the aircraft is already attacking. 4 depth charges straddle U-37 perfectly. The boat is lifted bodily out of the water, then slammed down, hull split open like a tin of sardines. She sinks in 90 seconds. 43 men die. 6 are hauled half-frozen from the water by the Empire Wasp's lifeboat. For the first time in the entire war, a very long-range aircraft has found, fixed, and killed a U-boat in the middle of the Black Pit. The age of air cover has begun. Back in May, while the convoys bled, a quiet revolution was crossing the Atlantic. 10 American 4-engined bombers, officially sold to Britain under Lend-Lease, crewed by RAF and Commonwealth pilots, but with many U.S. Navy observers on board, were ferried across to Northern Ireland. Churchill personally overrode the Air Ministry's skeptics. He wanted the very long-range Liberator, and he wanted it yesterday. By July, the first VLR, very long-range squadrons, are patrolling the gap. 1 aircraft can stay airborne for 18 hours, cover 2,400 miles, and carry 8 depth charges or a 250-pound bomb load. Suddenly, the Black Pit is shrinking. Donitz's reaction is immediate and furious. He orders all U-boats to dive at the first sight of an aircraft, day or night. Surface attacks at night, the tactic that won the happy time, becomes suicide. Patrol lines break up. Skippers hesitate. The effect is electric. July sinkings drop from 359,000 tons to 94,000. August, 80,000. September, 68,000. Convoys that once expected to lose 10 or 15 ships arrive with every funnel still smoking. In Liverpool, dock workers cheer when they see a full 40-ship convoy steam in untouched. But the U-boats adapt again. Donitz issues new standing orders: fight back. Every U-boat is fitted with extra 20mm and 37mm flat guns. Crews are told to stay on the surface and shoot it out with aircraft rather than dive and lose the convoy.
It becomes a brutal duel in the sky. October 14, 1941, U-568 versus a 120 Squadron Liberator flown by Terry Bullock, already becoming a legend. The U-boat throws up a curtain of tracer. The Liberator presses home anyway, drops 6 charges, misses by yards. Bullock circles and comes back 3 more times until U-568 is a burning wreck. Bullock lands back in Iceland with 168 holes in his aircraft and not a scratch on the crew. The message is clear: the Atlantic is no longer safe for wolves on the surface. And beneath the waves, Bletchley Park is reading Donitz's mail again. With the captured U-110 material, the 4-rotor Enigma is cracked by December 1941. The Hydra network, U-boat traffic, is an open book. Roger Wynn's tracking room now plots U-boat positions almost as accurately as BDU itself. Convoys are rerouted around patrol lines with surgical precision. December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor. America enters the war. Roosevelt immediately authorizes full convoy escort all the way across the Atlantic. U.S. shipyards, untouched by bombs, are already pouring out destroyer escorts and baby flat tops. The first escort carriers, USS Bogue, USS Archer, steam east with orders to hunt, not just defend. On Christmas Day 1941, a signal reaches Donitz in Kernevel. All U-boat commanders, the enemy now possesses air supremacy over the entire convoy route. Exercise utmost caution. For the first time since 1939, the tonnage war curve bends downwards and stays there. The wolves still prowl,
and 1942 will be bloody. But the darkest night is over. Out on the gray water, a young merchant seaman on a rescued convoy lights his first cigarette in weeks and watches a liberator circle protectively overhead. He exhales smoke into the freezing air and whispers the words every sailor has been waiting 2 years to say. We're going to win this bloody thing. January 1942. The wolves come home to feast again. Operation Drumbeat, Dönitz's revenge for the lost happy time. With America suddenly in the war, her eastern seaboard lies naked. Cities blazing their lights, lighthouses still flashing, no convoys, no blackout, no escorts worth the name. Merchant ships sail independently, silhouetted against amusement parks and neon signs. Dönitz sends only 6 boats at first, 5 Type 9 long-range, 1 Type 7. The commanders call it the second happy time. The Americans call it something else. January 14, 1942, off Cape Hatteras. The Panamanian tanker Norness is steaming alone when Kapitänleutnant Reinhard Hardigan in U-123 surfaces almost alongside. He fires 1 torpedo for fun, then finishes her with the 105mm deck gun under the glow of Atlantic City skyline. Crewmen swim ashore and walk into drugstores for coffee before anyone realizes a war is on. In the next 6 months, the U-boats run amok. Hardigan alone sinks 19 ships on a single patrol. Ernst calls in U-130 bags 10 off Florida in daylight sunlight. Children on Daytona Beach watch tankers explode like fireworks. By July 1942, 397 ships are gone along the American coast, over 2 million tons. Oil slicks stretch for miles. Bodies wash up on holiday beaches. The Gulf of Mexico becomes Torpedo Junction. The U.S. Navy, obsessed with the Pacific, has almost nothing to spare. Coastal escorts are pleasure yachts with a machine gun bolted to the foredeck. The Atlantic has never been deadlier. Yet every massacre carries the seeds of its own defeat. American shipyards explode into life. Henry Kaiser's Liberty ships, ugly, riveted, mass-produced, begin sliding down the ways at the rate of 3 a day by autumn. One is launched every 8 hours in some yards. The broken curve of tonnage starts climbing again. And the hunters finally arrive. July 7th, Caribbean. The first U.S. escort carrier, USS Bogue, steams into the fight with a deck of Wildcat fighters and Avenger torpedo bombers. Her air group is small, but it is enough. In her first month, she sinks U-67 and damages 2 others so badly they limp home and never sail again. Across the ocean, the Royal Navy perfects the art of the support group. Walker's old 2nd Escort Group is reborn as a roving killer team, freed from convoy defense to hunt patrol lines. In November 1942, they catch 3 U-boats in 1 week. Centrometric radar Type 271 reaches the escorts. Suddenly, a periscope feather at 2 miles shows up like a church spire. U-boats can no longer surface safely even at night. And the Hedgehog arrives. 24 mortar bombs fired ahead of the ship in an oval pattern. No more waiting for the target to cross your stern. Contact, fire, keep pinging. The first confirmed kill comes in February 1943, U-609. Blown apart so violently, her pressure hull comes up in pieces. The weapons are catching up. The men are catching up. The intelligence is now continuous. Bletchley Park reads U-boat positions almost as fast as Dönitz can plot them. Convoys weave through patrol lines like ghosts. In April 1943, 39 convoys cross the Atlantic. Only 58 ships are attacked, 15 sunk. The month before, it was 97 ships attacked, 41 sunk. The curve has crossed. May 1943, the crucible month. 41 U-boats are at sea. Dönitz believes one final hammer blow will break Britain. He throws everything into the North Atlantic run. Convoy ONS-5, slow, outbound, 43 ships, becomes the killing ground. April 28th to May 6th, the longest convoy battle of the war. Gales of force 10, seas 50 feet high, visibility sometimes 50 yards. Escorts ice-coated, men lashed to their posts. U-boats attack in waves, 16 boats at the height. Torpedoes crisscross the lanes. 13 merchant ships go down, another 7 damaged. But the escorts fight like demons. Commander Peter Gretton's B-7 group, reinforced by the 1st and 3rd support groups, turns the storm into a weapon. They hunt through the blizzard, radar-guided, relentless. U-192, U-638, U-125, U-531, U-186. 5 boats destroyed in 4 days. When the weather clears on May 6th, the remaining U-boats flee west, radioing frantic warnings. Unbearable air cover, escorts everywhere, and breaking off. Donitz reads the signals in his headquarters at Charlottenburg and weeps openly in front of his staff. On May 24, 1943, he issues the order that ends the tonnage war as Germany once understood it. All U-boat North Atlantic, withdraw immediately to area southwest of the Azores. Avoid all contact. The wolves are called home. In 6 weeks of May, 43 U-boats are lost, 31 in the Atlantic. Crew losses are catastrophic. Donitz's son, Peter, is among the dead. From June onward, the monthly loss rate of U-boats never again falls below the commissioning rate. The Atlantic has become a killing jar. On a small escort carrier in mid-ocean, a young American pilot lands his Avenger after sinking his 3rd U-boat of the patrol. He climbs down, lights a cigarette, and looks out over an empty sea. No periscopes, no smoke on the horizon, just blue water and white horses as far as the eye can see. He turns to his squadron commander and says the sentence that will be repeated in bars from Reykjavik to Gibraltar. "Gentlemen, I think the bastards have had it."